I caught her in the act. Not rumors. Not texts. I saw her. In our bed. With a man who cleans out septic tanks for a living. And while I stood frozen in the doorway, she looked me in the eyes and laughed. If you think that's the worst part, keep listening. It was a Thursday. I'd gotten off work early because of a power outage at the plant. I didn't tell her I was coming home. I thought I'd surprise her. Maybe take her out for dinner, bring her flowers. Something small. She'd been distant lately, and I was still naive enough to think that meant she needed love, not that she was getting it from someone else. I pulled into the driveway and noticed the garbage bins weren't out. They were always out on Thursdays. That was her one job around the house now that she worked from home. Put the bins out by 2 p.m. I figured she forgot again. I should have known something was off right then. I opened the front door and called out for her. No answer. The house was weirdly quiet. The kind of quiet that doesn't feel empty, it feels heavy, like something's hiding in it. I stepped through the living room. Her laptop was open, but the screen was black. Her phone was on the table, vibrating every few seconds with texts that I didn't dare look at yet. Then I heard it, a muffled sound coming from upstairs. At first I thought maybe the TV was on. Then I heard it again, a voice. A man's voice. And her laugh. Not her usual laugh either. That stupid, giggly one she does when she's pretending to be impressed. I took the stairs slow, one at a time, like I was giving her a chance to stop. A chance to hide whatever I wasn't ready to see. But she didn't stop. She didn't care. I opened our bedroom door. There they were. She was straddling him, fully naked, with her back to me. And the guy, he looked right at me. It took me a second to even process what I was seeing. He had a utility jumpsuit crumpled up on the floor. Name tag said Rick. I'd seen him before. Works for the septic service we used last summer when the downstairs toilet backed up. She turned around when she saw his face freeze up. Met my eyes. And I'll never forget what she said. Oh great. You're home early. No shame. No apology. Just sarcasm. Then she looked down at him and said, Don't worry. He won't do anything. He never does. She laughed. He laughed. I just stood there. My mouth moved, but no sound came out. I think I said, Why? She rolled her eyes, climbed off him, and grabbed the blanket like I was the one intruding. Seriously? You've been so boring lately. Always trusting. Always loyal. It's pathetic. She said the word pathetic like it was a joke. And Rick? He just shrugged like I was some loser customer complaining about a late invoice. I turned around. I walked out. I didn't slam the door. I didn't say anything. I drove to a parking lot near the grocery store and sat in the car for 2 hours, shaking. I wasn't angry. Not yet. I was humiliated. I didn't just lose her. I lost the version of her I thought was real. The version I'd been defending to my friends for years. And now I knew exactly who she was. But she didn't know who I was. Not yet. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face. The way she smirked. The way she acted like I was the one who ruined something. I replayed it 100 times. Her words, his face, the disgusting little laugh they shared. But the worst part? I still wanted to fix things. I still thought maybe there was something to salvage. Pathetic, right? The next morning, I came back to the house. I had to. My wallet and work badge were still inside. She was in the kitchen like nothing had happened, eating cereal in a hoodie like she was nursing a hangover. I opened the door. She didn't even flinch. Oh, she said. Look who's back. Didn't expect that. I need my stuff, I said quietly. She leaned back in her chair, spoon in her hand, and gave me the fakest look of concern I've ever seen. You okay? You looked a little shocked yesterday. Was it the jumpsuit? Or just the fact that Rick has more testosterone in his pinky than you do in your whole body? I said nothing. Just went upstairs, grabbed my badge, my keys, and my hoodie. I was halfway down the stairs when she called after me. Are you gonna cry? Is that why you're leaving so fast? I turned around. Why are you doing this? She raised an eyebrow like I'd asked the dumbest question in the world. Because I can. You think just because you pay the bills and play house that I owe you everything? You're predictable. You're safe. You're boring. Then she laughed to herself. You know what Rick said about you? He said you look like the type of guy who irons his underwear. She waited for me to explode. But I didn't. I just stood there, taking it. You still don't get it, do you? She went on. I need excitement. Danger. Something real. And you'd rather fix leaky faucets and plan grocery lists. You don't have to humiliate me, I said, barely getting the words out. She smirked again. But you make it so easy. I left. Again. But this time something in me snapped. Because for the first time, I saw it. She didn't feel bad. She wasn't hiding anything. She was proud. Proud of breaking me. Of watching me squirm. Of seeing how far she could push before I finally snapped. And even then, I hadn't. That night, I sat in my car again. Same grocery store lot. But this time I wasn't crying. I was planning. I pulled out a notepad from the glove compartment, wrote one thing on it. Make her regret everything. I didn't know how yet, but I was done being the fool. That notepad became my Bible. I kept it with me everywhere, in the car, at work, beside my bed. Every time I had a thought, an idea, a suspicion, I wrote it down. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even hurt anymore. I was focused. Cold. I didn't want to yell, scream, or smash windows. I wanted her to crumble from the inside. I wanted her to feel what it's like to lose control piece by piece, the same way she dismantled me. The first thing I wrote down was what she valued most. Not me. Not us. Definitely not loyalty. She valued perception. Being admired. Looking like she had it all, stable husband, beautiful home, curated Instagram. That fake life she built brick by brick while I worked overtime to pay for it. That was her armor. So I'd start there. The second thing I wrote down was who she confided in. Her sister, Emily. Her boss, Gordon. And her girls' group chat, which she once bragged had enough dirt in it to sink all our marriages. Interesting. So I started playing dumb. I texted her a few times. I miss you. Can we talk? I'm trying to understand what happened. She responded with short replies, mostly mocking or vague. But I didn't care. I needed the illusion that I was still the same sad, soft guy. The one she thought she had outsmarted. Then I did something I never thought I'd do. I scheduled a therapy session with her therapist, the one she used to see for stress and career burnout. I'd paid for her sessions through my insurance. She never even changed the billing info. I showed up, told the therapist everything, not just about the affair, but about how she'd been eroding my confidence for years. The gaslighting, the mockery, the subtle, smiling insults. She listened carefully and took notes. Then she said something that changed everything. She once mentioned someone named Rick in a session. She said he made her feel seen. Seen. I didn't say anything, just nodded. But now I knew this wasn't a one-time lapse. This was something deeper. She had been testing how far she could push me for years. That night, I started gathering digital receipts. I opened her old laptop, which she hadn't touched in months but hadn't wiped. Emails. Photos. A whole folder named Vaki that wasn't vacation photos at all. Just chats and pictures she'd saved from her burner apps. Not just Rick. 2 other names. One of them was saved as Toolbox. I screenshot everything. I wasn't ready to release any of it yet. Not to her friends. Not to her job. Not even to her family. No. This was going to be slow. Strategic. Measured. Then I found the most useful file of all. A spreadsheet. Shared finances. My name on every account. Every credit card. Every auto payment. She was still using the card I paid off each month. Still shopping. Still Ubering. Still living her life like I was a doormat with a debit card. I smiled for the first time in weeks. Let her keep spending. Let her think I'm broken. Because the first blow was coming soon, and she wouldn't see it until it was already buried deep. It started with the bank. I waited until Friday at 4:30 p.m., right before the weekend, right before her girls' trip to Palm Springs, which I knew about thanks to her shared calendar that she forgot was still synced to my phone. I walked into the branch I'd been banking with for years and sat down with the same manager who helped us set up our joint accounts back when we got married. Friendly guy. Always smiling. I wasn't smiling. I want my name removed from all joint credit cards, I told him. Effective immediately. Freeze the cards and issue replacements under my name only. She can reapply on her own credit if she wants. Are you sure? He asked, eyebrows raised. This'll lock her out of everything connected to you. Exactly. It took 15 minutes. By 5 o'clock, the joint cards were frozen. By 5:02, she was texting me. Her, Why is my card declining at the airport? Are you serious right now? I didn't reply. Not yet. Instead, I logged into the streaming accounts and changed every password. Netflix, Hulu, Prime, all locked. Her email was tied to those. I knew she'd notice. Then I pulled the pin, the utilities. All in my name. Internet, power, water. I scheduled shutoffs. Not today. Not tomorrow. Tuesday. Just enough time for her to think it was a glitch, call customer service, wait on hold, get nowhere. That weekend, I stayed offline. She called, left voicemails, messaged from a different number. Then her sister called me. Why are you doing this to her? She's stranded. I laughed, first real laugh in weeks. She can borrow Rick's van. Or maybe he can fish some change out of the storm drain to get her home. Emily hung up. On Monday, I walked into her work building. I was polite to the front desk, smiled at her coworkers, and handed the HR manager a manila envelope. Inside, screenshots, receipts, chat logs, her using work hours and the company VPN to schedule meetups. And not just with Rick. Her boss was in those screenshots too. 2 hours later, she was suspended pending review. I know that because she texted me from a new number. You got me fired? What is wrong with you? I replied. You laughed in my face while a man who cleans septic tanks zipped his pants in my bedroom. Consider this the polite version of revenge. No response. That night, I checked her Instagram. The girl's trip photos were gone. Her profile picture was blank. She was unraveling and fast. But I didn't celebrate yet, because something in my gut told me she wouldn't just take the hit. She'd hit back. And when she did, I needed to be ready. It happened faster than I expected. I came home from work Wednesday night, and my landlord was waiting by my door. He looked uncomfortable. She came by, he said. Your wife. Or, ex, I guess. She told me everything. Said you emptied the accounts and left her stranded. She said that. I asked, already feeling the blood drain from my face. He nodded. Said you were emotionally unstable. She was worried about your behavior. Said she's filing for emergency spousal support and a restraining order. I laughed. I actually laughed because it sounded so ridiculous. But then he handed me a letter. Court summons. Emergency hearing scheduled for Friday. She filed for temporary alimony and claimed I was engaging in financial abuse. Said I had a history of controlling behavior and emotional manipulation. And she threw in a restraining order request. Said I was threatening her mental safety. That one hit hard. Because once the legal machine gets involved, it doesn't matter what's true. What matters is how good your story sounds on paper. And hers? Sounded like a Lifetime movie. Abandoned wife. Financially cut off. Humiliated by a vindictive husband. And me? I had screenshots of her with a sewer worker and a dozen unpaid Uber Eats charges. I called a lawyer. Had to borrow against my 401k to afford her. She wasn't cheap, but she was good. First thing she told me? She's winning for now. These kinds of orders get approved fast. We need to slow it down, force a real hearing. Get time to gather your evidence. By Friday, the judge approved her temporary request. My accounts were partially frozen. I was legally barred from contacting her directly. And I was ordered to send $1,200 a month to an escrow account until the facts are reviewed. She sent me a message through her lawyer that night. You wanted a war? Let's go. It worked. For a moment, she had me. I was cornered, legally restrained, financially handcuffed. And worst of all, my friends started pulling away. She told them I was lashing out and unstable. Told them I'd been controlling her for years. And you know what? Some believed her. Because people love a dramatic story, and hers had all the pieces. So yeah, she won that round. She took the first real shot that hurt. But I wasn't done. I hadn't even started. I spent the next 3 weeks in silence. No texts. No posts. No reactions. I wanted her to think I was broken. That she'd won. That the court papers and frozen funds had buried me. But behind the scenes, I was working. My lawyer helped me subpoena records. Financials. IP logs. Chat histories. I got my hands on everything she thought was hidden. Turns out she'd been using the company laptop for all her little rendezvous, even after being suspended. Then I found the gold mine, her fake Venmo account. She'd been paying Rick under the name Cleaning Service for months. Small, regular payments. $75, $100, sometimes labeled clogged drain, sometimes deep clean. Cute. But the funny thing is, Rick doesn't have a license. No business registration. No insurance. No plumbing cert. He's not a cleaner. He's a guy with a wrench and a dirty truck. I called in a favor from a friend who works for the city. Had him check Rick's name through the contractor system. Nothing. Then I sent an anonymous tip to the Department of Consumer Affairs. Unlicensed plumbing work in residential homes. Unsafe conditions. Possible fraud. They took it seriously. Next, I went after her public image. She always cared about appearances. She ran a couples advice podcast with two of her friends, 3 married women talking about communication and trust. I waited until they posted a new episode. Then I used a burner email and dropped every screenshot I had into the show's inbox. DMs, calendar invites, the folder labeled Vaki, all of it. One of her co-hosts responded, "Who is this?" I just wrote, "Ask your girl about toolbox. 2 days later, their website went dark. The podcast was on hiatus. Then came the real win. My lawyer filed a motion to unseal her work laptop data, which she'd claimed was personal. We presented logs showing over 200 hours of messaging during company time, inappropriate photos stored on company property, and communications that could be interpreted as workplace misconduct. The court granted the motion. We sent everything to her employer's legal department. 3 days later, I got an alert. Account closed. Direct deposit canceled. She'd been fired. Not suspended, fired. And now, because she lost her income, her emergency spousal support case was weakening. The judge scheduled a new hearing to reassess financial capacity. She couldn't prove she was in danger anymore. Not when she was the one violating workplace policy and engaging in multiple undisclosed relationships. I could feel her slipping. And I wasn't done. Because I hadn't touched the last card I had. The one I was saving. The one with her mother's name on it. I knew she'd come back swinging. I expected pettiness. Maybe a smear campaign. What I didn't expect was my job. It started with a random email to HR. Then another. Then someone printed out a packet and slid it under my supervisor's door. Inside? Screenshots of me, taken out of context, chopped up and rearranged to make it look like I was stalking her. That I'd been harassing her online, violating the restraining order, even threatening her. None of it was true. But to someone who didn't know the full story, it looked bad. Real bad. I was called into a meeting. My supervisor sat there with 2 HR reps and a folder. "We've received a complaint," they said. Anonymously. They slid it across the table. I opened it. My own texts edited. Emails I never sent. Even a post from a throwaway Reddit account talking about ruining someone's life, which they tried to pin on me. I told them the truth. That I was in the middle of a messy legal dispute. That she was manipulating everything. I even offered to provide the court documents. But they weren't interested in facts. They were interested in risk. "We're placing you on paid administrative leave pending investigation." Translation: sit at home and wait while they decide whether to fire me. She got me. I walked out of that building with my badge in a plastic bag and my chest hollowed out. This was her way of saying I can take everything from you, too. I didn't go home. I drove to my dad's house an hour away. Sat in his garage with the door open and just stared at the driveway. "How bad is it?" he asked, handing me a beer. "Worse than I thought she was capable of." He nodded. "Good. Now you see her clearly." That night, I got another email. This one from her lawyer. They were filing for full spousal support. Long-term. Retroactive. Claiming she'd been emotionally abused and financially devastated by my campaign of vengeance. She wanted half my retirement. Half the equity. And full ownership of the car I bought for her birthday 2 years ago. Attached to the motion was an affidavit, signed by her mother. A character reference. "Your Honor, I've watched my daughter suffer in silence for years. I almost threw my phone across the room. That woman used to call me son. And now she was helping her daughter burn down everything I'd built. She was winning again. And I was running out of time. But then I remembered something. Something small. Stupid. A footnote in a text thread I'd saved but hadn't looked at twice. It wasn't the mother I needed to focus on. It was her mother's accountant. Her mother's accountant. The name was buried in a message she'd sent during tax season 2 years ago. Something about having to redo paperwork because mom tried to hide the condo again. Back then, I didn't think anything of it. But now, I smelled something rotten. I made some calls. Discreet ones. Used an old college buddy who worked freelance in financial forensics. I told him I needed a quiet look into any non-disclosed assets tied to a certain family name. Took him less than a week to come back with gold. Turns out, her mom had been shifting money into shell accounts for years. She owned a property in Sarasota under an LLC registered to a fake business, one that, on paper, no longer existed. No taxes paid. No disclosure. And guess who handled that paperwork? My ex. Her name wasn't on the title, but she'd signed off on several maintenance expenses as a consultant. That made her complicit. Now, normally, that's just shady family business. But when you're in court asking for financial rescue while helping cover up tax fraud, it matters. My lawyer and I prepared a motion. We didn't submit it, yet. Instead, we attached it to a letter. Sent it directly to her attorney with a simple message. If she continues with the full spousal support claim, this becomes public record. 3 hours later, I got a call. Her lawyer was panicking. We were unaware of any such activity. We'd like to revise the filing and avoid escalation. Can we come to an agreement? It was the first time they didn't sound smug. I told them no. She wanted war? I was just getting warmed up. But I wasn't reckless. My lawyer advised me to let the court system play out on paper. So while the motion slowed, I went for her real weakness. Her circle. Remember the podcast she co-hosted? One of her old marriage advice friends reached out. Turns out, they weren't too thrilled to find out they'd been sharing the mic with a habitual cheater. One of them sent me a message. I don't like what she did to you. Thought you should know. She's been seeing someone new. Rick's out. This guy's worse. Used to date her friend. Name's Tony. Work sanitation. Sanitation. Another garbage man. She had a type. But here's the twist. Tony was married. And his wife? She had no idea. So I made another burner account. I didn't say much. Just sent her screenshots of hotel confirmations, payment receipts, and a selfie my ex took in Tony's hoodie. An hour later, Tony's wife messaged back. Who are you? I didn't answer. But I know what happened next because 2 days later, Tony's wife tagged my ex in a Facebook post that blew up. 237 comments. Half of them mutual acquaintances. Her curated image, gone. Friends stopped defending her. Even her sister Emily stopped returning her calls. She was finally alone. But she wasn't done. Because just when I thought I'd broken her, she hit me with her final play. And for a moment, I thought I'd lost everything. I showed up to court ready for battle. My lawyer was sharp, prepared, focused. We had bank records, text logs, her fake consulting expenses, even the burner messages she sent to Tony while he was still married. But none of it mattered. Because she walked in with tears in her eyes, a new attorney at her side, and a folder of medical paperwork. She had a diagnosis. Depression, anxiety, trauma from a history of emotional neglect in the marriage. A certified therapist's note described me as manipulative through financial control. She cried when the judge asked her to speak. She said I weaponized the money, that I intimidated her with lawyers, that she had no one left because of the mental toll. And the worst part? She was good. She had practiced, coached, maybe even believed it herself. The judge listened, nodded, then hit me with the ruling. Temporary spousal support, reinstated. Asset freeze, extended until full financial review. Restraining order, upheld for another 30 days. My lawyer squeezed my wrist under the table, hard. Don't react, she whispered. This is optics. She's stalling. But I wasn't thinking about optics. I was thinking about the last 2 months of my life, torn to pieces while she stood there, acting like I was the villain. She walked past me outside the courtroom with her lawyer, and I swear she smirked. Barely. Just enough so I'd see it. Then she said under her breath, "You really thought you could beat me?" I didn't answer. I went home, locked the door, turned off my phone, and sat in silence. She had everything. Money, sympathy, a clean public face. And then, just as I was staring at the court ruling again, hands shaking, I got a message. Not an email. Not a text. A package. No name on it. Just a manila envelope slid under my door. Inside was a thumb drive. I plugged it into my laptop and opened the only file. A screen recording. 30 minutes long. It was her. Not from security footage, not from anything illegal. Just a private Zoom call she'd recorded and forgot to delete. The screen had her face in the corner. She was talking to someone. Looked like a friend, judging by the conversation. She was laughing. I mean, yeah, I pushed it. Of course I did. What was he gonna do? Fight me in court? He still doesn't get it. I'm 10 steps ahead. Always was. She kept talking. He thinks he's smart with all his little files and screenshots. But I know how to play broken. Judges eat that up. I just have to keep it up for a few more weeks and boom, clean split. Half the money. Full car. No guilt. She smiled into the camera. I don't even miss Rick. He was gross. Honestly, I just wanted to see if I could break someone like that. I paused the video. My hands were steady now. I finally had it. Proof. Not just of the affairs, but the manipulation, the fraud, the intent. One final blow. The kind that destroys reputations. And just as I started prepping the documents to submit it to the court, she found out. She showed up on my doorstep. No makeup, hair wet, eyes puffy and red. She was shaking. She dropped to her knees. And she begged me, please don't do this. Please. I'll lose everything. She sobbed into her hands, kneeling on the welcome mat where she used to kiss me goodbye. And I just stood there, watching her break. Then I said the only words I had left. What would you do in my place?